everyone, my name is Natalie. Five Nights at Freddy's was an indie horror game that's sweet in the nation. It has a very loyal fan base and doesn't seem to be stopping anytime soon. And doesn't seem to have any sign of stopping anytime soon. So, it doesn't seem to be stopping anytime soon, which is perfect because it's just perfect. This indie horror game is known for a couple things. This indie horror game franchise, Sweet the Nation, is known for a couple things. The genius developer behind it. 2, the unique way it portrays horror. The unique way it portrays horror and the things that go bump in the night. 2, the unique way it portrays horror and the things that go bump in the night. And 3, it's extremely cryptic storytelling that even the most complicated theorist can't get open, can't figure out. However, there's more to the series. Scott Cawthon is a genius, and he really knows how to scare people, be it through jump scares or a concept. Be it through jump scares or concept. Now, and I'm here to break down that horror. No, the direction I'm getting from this might not be the intended one from the creator. But this is what I get. From the horror of FNAF. This is breaking down the horror of Five Nights at Freddy's. This is breaking down the horror of Five Nights at Freddy's. With your host, Natalie. With me, your host. Now let's begin this breakdown of horror. First, we have to look into the storyline. Spoilers. First, there will be spoilers ahead in this video for the entire Five Nights at Freddy's storyline that we have confirmed by Scott so far. So prepare yourselves. Alright. The interesting thing to note is that Five Nights at Freddy's, well, at least the first game, doesn't function the first game mostly doesn't focus on malfunctioning robots. That's right, the animatronics in FNAF 1 are not malfunctioning. This is a very strange thing. You might be thinking, oh, they're programmed to kill, but that's not it either. Malfunctioning robots is a trope that immediately is thrown out the window. What's actually happening is what's actually happening are children's souls. Are children's souls haunting the animatronics. Children's souls who want revenge. Children's souls who want revenge. There's no malfunctioning robot to be seen here. This is all humane action. This is all action done by what was previously a child. A child who loved and played and had fun at the pizzeria. Until, of course, the next thing we're going to talk about came. And you might be thinking, oh, they're ghost children. They're easy to empathize with. Well, you've obviously never played the game because you're very, 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 very much wrong. You might be thinking since they're ghost children, they're easy to empathize with. And you know, they must be malfunctioning robots if the ghost children are that aggressive. Well, you might be thinking these children are sad and lonely, which they are sad and lonely. But they're not just sad and lonely. They're vengeful, and they're not just sad and lonely. These children aren't as innocent as they seem to be. They aren't just sad and lonely. They aren't just sad and lonely. They're vengeful spirits. That's right. These children are vengeful spirits out to kill you through the animatronic bodies that they possess. And the whole thing is thanks to one man. No, not Scott Cawthon. And the whole incident is thanks to one man. One sinister man. That's right, the man behind the slaughter himself. That's right, the man behind the slaughter himself, William Afton, the purple guy, the infamous purple guy, and the man behind the slaughter. The infamous purple guy, and the man behind the slaughter. Now, something to know is that William Afton, well, at least from what I've seen, isn't just a cold-hearted killer. He is a man of science. People like to think William Afton's just a cold-hearted killer, but who would really actually kill kids? Just for fun? No, he obviously had a reason behind it. There's no way he just woke up one day and decided, I'm gonna go murder some children. No, William Afton is a man of science. What science is he in? The remnant. William Afton experiments with remnants. A thing that happens when you mix human souls. A thing that happens when you mix human souls with metal. A thing that happens when you mix human souls with metal. It equals a thing called remnant, which can cause immortality. Keep in mind the remnant stuff I'm mentioning right now is not real. It's just FNAF logic. It's just FNAF lore. You don't need to be afraid of William Afton kicking down your door to get some of that sweet remnant. You don't need to be afraid of it. Remnant can supposedly cause immortality. A remnant can supposedly cause immortality. And of course, William Afton really wants to get his hands on some of that immortality. And of course, William Afton, being a man of science, needs to figure out this theory. Now, I'm not going to be explaining the lore past that point because things get really confusing. Goodbye, man behind slaughter. You were great while you lasted. Why am I saying that? Boom. Now, time to get into the real horror. It's gonna be really confusing because Five Nights at Freddy's is a bit of a mixed bag. It's a bit of a mixed bag of horror. Like, you know how in the trick-or-treating bag, you don't just get candy. You don't just get one type of candy. You get a ton of different types of candy. Well, that's Five Nights at Freddy's. It enjoys shaking up the genre. Enjoys shaking up the genre in lots and lots. It enjoys shaking up what makes it scary in lots of different ways. It could be the souls of children. It could be malfunctioning animatronics. It could be the things that go bump in the night. It knows how to scare you. It knows how to scare you, and it does it well. Now, how is it that's now? The main thing we're going to focus here is what makes FNAF scary. Now, the main thing we're going to focus here is what makes FNAF scary rather than what makes the animatronics scary. That's right, we're not going to be focusing on the design of the animatronics and how unsettling it can be, because that does not wrap its head around the true horror that I've discovered. So we're going to be focusing on what makes the game scary, rather than how the animatronics designs are scary. Do we have that clear yet? Okay, good. Just wanted to make that clear. Now, the true horror of FNAF comes from a lot, and I mean a lot of different things. One of these things is extremely noticeable. Now, FNAF takes advantage of a lot of different phobias. One of them, obviously, being the fear of animatronics. Now, if you've seen FNAF, you know how many phobias FNAF can conquer. It can conquer fear of ghosts, fear of clowns, fear of the boogeyman, fear of monsters. It can capture a lot of different feelings. Its phobias are really what makes it shine. Because mixing phobias is really what makes it shine. Like if you mix fear of animatronics, such as, Chuck E. Cheese and everything. If you mix fear of animatronics plus fear of ghost, you basically get FNAF 1. You basically get the first game. However, lots of different things happen, so we're not going to be focusing on that. Now, what we're going to focus on is what can make it scary. Now, keep in mind, Five Nights at Freddy's is about ghosts and the spirits of the dead. There are no malfunctioning animatronics besides in the second game and maybe some obsessional location. It's all ghost. The spirits of the dead, and other things. There are no, and I mean no, malfunctioning robots to be had here. There's no malfunctioning robots to be had here. There's no Banana Splits movie. There's no Girls Gone Crazy and stuff. There is none of that. No malfunctioning robots. It's all ghost. The spirits of the dead. The things that go bump in the night. Supposedly. And if we peek into the fact that it's all ghost, the true horror is revealed. Now this part can get a little sad, so this part's gonna get a little deep. So content warning. If you don't like death, if you don't like discussions about death, grief, tragedy, and how it affects society, and tragedy, can you please leave the video because that's some of the stuff we're going to be talking about right now. I believe, personally, that FNAF, despite its horrifying animatronic design, is not about the scary animatronics. It's about the fear of tragedy. Something big happening that no one has control over. Like, something big happening that no one has control over and that no one can prevent. Tragedy is something that can strike at any moment. And it can engulf. And it's scary. It's scary thinking that things can go wrong with your life, that death is right at your door. That death is right at your door. Tragedy is the true horror of Five Nights at Freddy's. William Afton's actions cemented this. William Afton's actions in murder, in masked murder, presented this. William Afton's actions in mass murder were the things that made this happen. Now think about how the parents of those children feel when they were calling their names, asking them to come back, telling them it was time to go home. Telling them it was time to go home. And when they found out the bad news, they would be devastated. These once cheerful parents celebrating with their children would become sad. Would become sad, grieveful, and would never stop crying, and would never forget what happened. This, however, no one pays attention to this because there's a massive. However, no one pays attention to this part of the lore because of the massive fog, well, more like static that can form all over this part. No one really looks behind the static to see what's really going on. These parents feel grieved. The night guards, now you feel fear as a night guard. Now these night guards feel fear. They are scared rather than griefful. They're scared rather than griefful. However, think, the night guard just arrived here and they don't know the animatronics are haunted. They don't know that these things trying to kill them are the souls of children. In fact, they might even have been our children. We don't know the night guard's past. We don't know the night guard we play as past. The only night guard whose past we know that we play as is Michael Afton from Sister Location, or ex-Benedict, who is the older brother of Elizabeth Afton and Chris Afton. It's very difficult to, it's really difficult to believe all these things that go down. It's really difficult to, handle. When tragedy strikes, you don't know what you can do. You feel, when tragedy strikes, there's nothing you can really do. You feel empty. And like the whole world is rushing before you. You feel like you don't have control of the world you once knew. You think everything's going to be okay, but you have no idea. It becomes a blur. it becomes a massive blur of emotions and death. It becomes a massive blur of emotions and death. It's so massive that you can't even feel yourself anymore. This is where Five Nights at Freddy's really stands out to tell its story. At least in the first game, the horror is behind the tragedy, the death. The true horror is behind tragedy, death. How you think the parents would feel about the incident. And now we're going to be looking at a completely different game. Five Nights at Freddy's 4. The fourth game in the franchise, and the one that shook up the formula the most. The fourth game focuses on a child's fears in the mind of a child. The animatronic designs are nightmarish, and we appear to be trapped in the dream of a child. Facing all these nightmare animatronics, which creates a similar tragic feel. You're stressed. You're panicking. You don't know what you're going to do. However, if you look behind the smoke, there's a more clear way to look at this nightmarish scenario. This scenario that we're about to talk about is where the tragedy part of the horror really stands out. That's right, we're talking about the bite of 83. So we're talking about the bite of 83. A tragic event where the main protagonist of FNAF 4 gets his head bitten off. That's right, the protagonist dies. The older brother who committed the act is probably himself scared and regretful of what he did to his younger brother. He probably tears up behind the foxy mask he wears. He tears up behind the foxy mask he wears just at the sight of the death of his younger brother. Which if you think about, Five Nights at Freddy's horror doesn't come from creepy animatronics or malfunctions or heck even the idea of a serial killer. It comes from tragedy. The tragedy that strikes out of nowhere. The tragedy that can hit out of nowhere. Sorry, I don't know how to spell tragedy. It comes from the unexpected, the awful, and the downright sickening. One second you're playing an innocent prank on your brother, the next minute he's dead with his blood on your hands. You don't know what to do. You're stressed. That swirling void has come to consume you. The swirling void of tragedy has returned to consume you. Tragedy is a swirling void with no escape out of it, really. It's a swirling void, and it can consume a person. Now, this would be the part where a light shines at the end of the tunnel. There's usually a moral involving getting over this tragedy. However, most things that talk about tragedy and how to get over it are children's media or happy media or a happy movie. Even if it's an adult movie, it's a happy one with a happy ending. Five Nights at Freddy's is a horror game. Five Nights at Freddy's is a horror game. The exact opposite of these mediums. It knows how to scare you, and it knows how to get a reaction out of you. If it utilizes its horror of tragedy, it won't tell you how to get over it. Since Five Nights at Freddy's is a horror game and not a movie about grief, it's stressful. It's even more stressful when you realize that the game isn't going to tell you how to get over this pile that you've gotten yourself into only grows bigger as the game goes deeper. You learn that there were more victims than one due to this company. This company is full of tragedy and grief and all these things that can absorb a person. And now we get to the horror that connects all these together, the final horror. The horror of tragedy, how unexpected it can be and how it can destroy a person's life. And the horror of tragedy coming back to haunt people. Remember, the ghosts in Five Nights at Freddy's are vengeful spirits. They don't like anyone, and they don't like anyone. Not to mention in FNAF 4, we're dealing with a troubled child with feelings about Freddy's that no one can really understand. This troubled child has his own sleep paralysis demons and nightmares to deal with. This child has his own nightmares about the still terrifying animatronics. They have bigger teeth and sharper claws, and they're ready to absolutely destroy him. The FNAF character's vengeful spirit or nightmarish creature are not based on this. The FNAF characters are not friendly. Not to mention, they follow the play. Not to mention, Cassidy, the main spirit, will constantly manipulate the player through their brain, sending cryptic messages and sending cryptic messages and freaking people out. They will mess with your brain. They will create a cloud over your mind. They will create a cloud over your mind. It's like there's information waiting to be given to you about it, but nothing's there. Nothing is there. Nothing's there to be given. This game is a horror game. If you expected to leave with a smile and a clean reaction, you would be wrong. If you expected to leave with a smile and clean reaction, you would be wrong. This game knows how to get a reaction out of you. It harnesses things that people would find scary and things that people would find sad, and mixes it into a horrifying mixing bowl. The concept of murder, ghost, and the uncanny valley, and things in the uncanny valley actually becoming uncanny, are all things that make Five Nights at Freddy's so prominent. This horror game is a void. You don't know how you're going to leave it clean slated. You don't know how you're going to leave it with a clean mind and a happy day. The horror is unexplainable, unpredictable, and downright twisted at times. You don't know what you're going to do. You feel like you're trapped in this void. You don't like this place, but you want to come back to it. You don't like this place. You think it's twisted and dark and should never exist in the first place, but you want to come back. You want to come back and face your fears. You want to come back. You want to go back to the world you're afraid of. the world you dislike, the world you ultimately thought, the world you fear. Nightmare scenario, isn't it? Nightmare scenario, isn't it? It's a nightmare scenario, isn't it? You kind of feel like you want to go back, but you're unsure. Do you want to go back to that strange, horrific world? Or do you want to stay in the safe zone with a Disney movie or cartoon? Or do you want to stay in the safe zone outside of that horrific world? Like I've said, Five Nights at Freddy's is nothing to joke about. It's dark, unforgiving. It's dark, unforgiving, and utilizes elements such as death, tragedy, death, the spirits of the dead coming back to haunt, and lots of other things. Thank you for watching Thank you guys so much for watching, explaining the horror of Five Nights at Freddy's. I really hope I can do more videos like these. I like making small doodles. I like making small cryptic doodles. I'd like to uncover more horror. This is just my personal theory that if you dive down deeper, there's more to it. It might not actually be the horror, so I might be wrong, and this might not actually be what makes it so scary to some people. It might actually be the uncanny animatronic designs and the spirits of the dead. I just thought the grief behind this entire thing made it even. I just thought the grief behind this entire situation made it even creepier than it already was. Anyways, if you guys enjoy this video, please leave a like. I want to make more videos explaining things. I love explaining things to people. I love explaining my opinions, and love explaining things to people and expressing my opinions. So if you want more of these videos, please hit that like button. Please hit that like button. It would be a big help, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye!